Hello everyone, it's a beautiful new day. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I made homemade canned sliced peaches at home. There's 1,000,001 YouTube videos out there, so it means a lot that you guys chose to watch mine. I began by making our syrup, and this is the syrup that's going to go with the sliced peaches. I used 4 quarts of water and 1 cup of raw sugar. I put it on a stove and I let it get hot enough just so it can come to a boil, and then I let it cool down. While this cools down, I'm going to sit it in a separate bowl, and then we're going to get started working on our peaches. We scored this big, beautiful box of fresh organic peaches from this farmer that has been traveling from Georgia up to Pennsylvania, and we were just so excited to finally get our hands on some. As you can see here, me and the boys are washing them thoroughly, and we're also just inspecting them, seeing if any are bruised, if any need to get removed or anything like that. It is common that a few will be going bad or anything like that, so if you see any that are bruised or going rotten, go ahead and discard them. We don't want to use them, only want to use the fresh, juicy ones. And I really feel like the boys, they were picking up on my excitement, so they were very enthusiastic about helping me through this process as much as they can. So to get started on the peaches, we're going to start by scoring them. Basically what we do is we cut an X at the bottom of the peach, and then we're going to blanch them in piping hot water for about a minute. And what this does is it softens the peaches. Creating the X allows for the peaches skin to peel up a bit. After they sit in the hot water for about a minute, the skin is super soft and it makes it very easy for the skin to peel off. It's also important to note that you don't want to cook them for over a minute because you don't want the peaches to be too soft. You want them to still be a bit firm. So right here you can see me going through the process of dropping them in the water, letting them cook for no more than a minute, pulling them right on out and letting them cool down. So we're going to wait for our peaches to cool down before we peel that skin off. But while we're waiting for them to cool down, we're going to go ahead and wash and sterilize our jars. It's very important that you use jars that are, if not brand new, at least very, very clean. Even if they're brand new, we're going to go ahead and take the extra step and clean them very thoroughly. And then I'm going to show you guys how I sterilize them. I'm sure there are multiple different ways that you can sterilize your jars, but in this video I'm just going to talk to you guys about the 2 ways that I use. Way number 1 is that you can boil them in boiling hot water for about 10 minutes, or you can do what I'm doing in this video I am putting them in the oven. Yes, they are freshly cleaned jars. I'm putting them in the oven. I have the oven on 220 degrees and I'm going to put them in here for about 20 minutes, and I find that this is just so much easier for me to work with. It also gets the job done very well. I thought I'd show you guys some of the tools I'd be using. One is this funnel thing that I'm going to be using to pour my contents in the jar. This right here is a jar grabber. I'm not sure the proper names for them. This is a spatula. The next tool that I'm going to be showing you is a magnet. And the magnet is used to grab the lids. You know, sometimes the lids will be in like hot water, so this is an easy way to grab the lids and to place them on the jars. And these are just some grabby thingies. I don't know the name of them, but it came in my little canning kit that I got off Amazon. So while our jars are in the oven sterilizing, our peaches are cool enough for us to finally peel. So we're gonna go ahead and get those peaches nice and naked, if you will. Was this process fun? It was okay. I think there was just so many peaches that, you know, I kind of was over it. I mean, it was fun, to be honest, and the peaches are very pretty. I would say it was an okay experience, to be honest. It just takes some time and patience. I really did not want to rush through this process, so I did dedicate most of my day just to canning these peaches. As you can see, making that X allowed for a very smooth peeling of the peaches skin, and yeah. Now in our household, nothing goes to waste, so I am saving the peach skins and the pit, and I'm going to show you guys how we use them later on in the video. It really is up to you how you want to cut your peaches. I was thinking of doing peach halves. Some of them were halves, and then I started doing quarters, and then I thought about the kids, and then I started slicing them into smaller pieces, and some of them were smaller cut. So it's really up to you however you want to cut it. I just recommend, you know, if you're going to do halves, just do halves. If you're going to do quarters, make them all quarters. I think that having them like close to consistently cut is better. So that's just a tip that I would take when you're doing it on your own. Not every peach will be perfect, and that is perfectly fine. If you find that your peaches have a little bit of imperfection to it, a little bit of discoloration, maybe in one or two areas, it's okay to just peel that piece off. As you see I'm doing right here, some of it was a little mushy on the skin, so I just peeled it off. However, the peach itself is totally fine. Yeah, you don't want to use rotten peaches, of course, or any peaches that look really bad, but as long as it has a little bit of discoloration, you should be fine. Now that my peaches skin is off, they're all sliced up. Look at how beautiful and juicy these peaches look. We're going to get them on the stove, and we're going to add our syrup to the peaches, and then we're going to bring this to a nice hot temperature. Now I did mention that our jars are in the oven sterilizing, and that is a great thing. We still have the lids to sterilize, and I'm going to do that by putting them into a bowl with steaming piping hot water and a dash of white vinegar. While the lids sit, I'm going to prepare our water bath can. Now, in this video, I could not find, for the lights of me, I could not find my rack. My pot came with a rack that makes it very easy to just place our cans in and pull them up all at the same time, but I couldn't find it, so I did have to improvise. Now I'm going to show you guys, if you guys don't have a rack and you just have a big pot, you can also use this tip as well. You can line the bottom of your pot with practically anything. I've seen people use towels. I've seen people use bowls. In my case, I use some old mason jar rings that I already had in my kitchen. As long as your jars are elevated from the bottom of the pot, you're good to go. So it's been 20 minutes. Our jars are nice and hot and sterilized. Our peaches and our syrup is combined beautifully, and that is nice and hot. And we want to ensure that we are pouring the hot contents into the hot jar. This is actually called hot packing. And I kind of forget why you have to do this. I'm so sorry. But you want everything to be hot. You want your jars to be hot. You want your contents to be hot. It just hot. It just makes, I don't know. Everyone just says this is what you have to do. If you're watching this video and if you are a canner, you can go ahead and explain this a little bit more. I probably should have been more prepared, but I'm not. So just follow the instructions, hot contents into a hot jar. So I started by just scooping out my peaches and getting them into those jars, and then I figured that once the peaches were in the jars nice and tight, I can go ahead and pour the syrup in after. If you saw me wipe the jars, I wiped the rings of the jars with white vinegar. It's very important that your rings stay as clean as possible to ensure a proper seal. So ladies, or if any men are out there watching, you want the ring of your jar to be as clean as possible. If there's any stickiness, any debris on that ring, it may not get a proper seal. So before and after this process, make sure that you are wiping that ring. I made a mistake when I was canning one time, and I guess I left a little tiny bit of food residue on the ring of my jar. Woke up the next day and the jar was just popped open like it was nobody's business. Like I didn't even put in all that work to can it. The rest of that batch, for this specific story that I'm talking about, the rest of that batch was it was just one can that had popped open the next day. So y'all don't be like me. Please make sure that you are backtracking and you are keeping those rings of those lids, the top of those lids, very clean and free from any debris. So I got all of my sliced peaches in there. I poured our syrup in there, and now I'm just going in with this spatula to debubble. And debubbling is important. You want to make sure that there are no bubble gaps or spaces in the bottom or middle of the jar. Sometimes air can get trapped down there, and you don't want that. So you want to go in with that spatula, scoop it on the sides, and just make sure that there is no air trapped at the bottom. And like I mentioned, go ahead and wipe those rings of those jars with that white vinegar before applying the lids. And I tried to use a little magnet thing. I thought it would make it easier, but it kind of just kept clumping all the lids together. I don't know, maybe I needed a bigger bowl to do this, but I found that it did make it easy to pop on top of the jars without me having to touch it as much. So yeah. You want to make sure that your lids are perfectly aligned on your jars before screwing the rings on. And in the canning world, they say you want to screw the rings on fingertip tight, meaning that, yeah, I hope that's pretty self-explanatory, fingertip tight. You don't want to screw it too tight because it can risk botulism and I don't know, just it bulking up or not canning properly. So you want to make sure that lid is on nice and good, not too tight, and then not too loose. Because I think when it's going through the canning process, it does release a little bit of oxygen, but don't quote me. Now that our canning pot water has come to a boil, we're going to drop our cans in there. We're going to let that process for 20 minutes. It's important that the water comes to a boil first before you start putting the cans in there, and then you start your timer. A couple tips. Tip number 1 is that these are only going to process for about 20 minutes. Peaches are a very soft fruit, so they don't have to go for hours on end like meat or other fibrous vegetables have to do. So 20 minutes works perfectly for these. I see a lot of people talk about not overstuffing their pots. I definitely agree. However, I think there should be enough jars in there. That way you don't risk any of them falling over. Hopefully that makes sense. So these have processed for a full 20 minutes, and I just left them in here for an extra 10 minutes just to ensure that the job is done. Now that they're done, I'm going to pull them out and sit them on the counter. Now it usually takes a couple hours for this to happen, but after a couple minutes, I already started hearing these babies pop, and this is a sign that they have sealed correctly. I decided to make a batch of peach jam. I didn't want to just make the sliced peaches. I wanted to do something else very special with these peaches because they were special to our family. So I decided to make some peach jam, and I think that this will go very nicely with some homemade bread. And pretty much the same rules apply. Before it was the sliced peaches and the syrup, but here it is just me scooping the jam into the jars. I do want to note, with anything that you do want to leave a little bit of space. I think they say about an inch of headspace between the food contents and the top of the jar. You don't want to fill them all the way up to the high end. You want to have a little bit of space so that way if the contents do expand over time, it has a place to, and it doesn't cause the can to pop open. And I'm sure somebody is wondering, well, what did she do with the skin? Well, I'm glad you're wondering, sis. I actually used the skin and the pit to make a peach simple syrup, and I'm going to can a couple of jars of those. I know, genius. I really wanted to use the full peach in this recipe and show you guys that nothing has to go to waste. Every part of God's creation is beautiful, bountiful, and just great. So we have some sliced peaches, we have some peach jam, and we also have some peach simple syrup. The same rules apply. We're going to wipe thoroughly the rings of each lid, making sure that there is no contents whatsoever on these rings. We want to get a nice, firm, and proper seal. And then we're going to go ahead and add our lids onto them. And I did the same exact thing. Let them sit in the steaming hot water with a little bit of vinegar, and then rinse them off right before putting them onto our jars. If anyone is looking for the exact recipe for the peach jam, for the peach simple syrup, or even the sliced peaches, it can be found on my Patreon. I'll be sure to post that link in the description for anybody who is interested. I water bath canned these the same way I did the sliced peaches, left them in there for about 20 minutes, let them sit for about 10 minutes, and then I pulled them out to cool overnight on the counter. The sliced peaches have been sitting for a couple hours now. I already heard the pop, I feel the seal of approval, and now it's time for the real test. Flip it over, and if those peaches don't go anywhere, then you know that you have peaches that will last for a lifetime. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was educational for you. And until the next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Blessings!